Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. If you guys didn't know, there is a new event in War Thunder going on. You might be saying to yourself, another event? We've had so many. Well, this is yet another to add into the calendar. And it is the Battle of the Atlantic. Basically, it's U-boats versus destroyers and frigates. So pretty damn cool in my opinion. If you guys don't know, U-boats are those things that go underwater. Most of them were submersibles. I think at the end of the war, technically, they had one that was an actual submarine, so to speak. But regardless, semantics aside. So that said, basically, you can play as either the Americans with the Fletcher-class destroyers or the Tacoma-class frigates, or you can play as the Germans with the U-boats. In my experience, it is a little bit easier to play the Americans, but I'll go over why you need to play both in just a second. Anyways, from November 3rd at 11 GMT, so it's already started, all the way to November 13th at 11 GMT, you can play this game mode. And it seems like a temporary game mode. They will likely be adding submarines in the future, but this is kind of like your first actual taste of what submarine combat in War Thunder might be looking like. But regardless, you can win yourself about 6 different prizes here, not including the loading screen, so pretty cool. And it is done in 5 stages, so basically you get a new stage every 2 days, starting on the 3rd, so from the 3rd to the 5th, to the 5th to the 7th, so on and so forth. And in order to progress through a stage, you need to get 1,500 points with each nation. So 3,000 in total, but you need 1,500 mission points with the US, 1,500 mission points for the Germans, and then you can win one of these prizes. And again, it's on a rotating basis every 2 days. And you can actually go into your achievements and find out exactly where these are. Just have to go to Nickname Achievements, Battle of the Atlantic, and then you can see, and you can also buy, let's say if you miss one of these, you can purchase the stage for 499 golden eagles. Now with that said, if I haven't already mentioned it, it's kind of like a gigantic game of cat and mouse in the frigid waters of the North Atlantic. It is pretty cool in my experience thus far, and basically I've played both the Americans and the Germans, and thus far in my opinion it's a bit easier to play the Germans, or the Americans rather, but the Germans I feel like will be easier to play once you get a bit more used to them. Submarines, after all, are a totally new form of warfare in War Thunder. We had that game mode Silent Thunder a few years ago, but this is pretty much nothing like that. If I remember correctly, Silent Thunder, it got to the point, like, there were glitches where you could literally fly off the map through the air because it was so glitchy. This is not at all like that. This feels like they are getting close to releasing a finished product. If not in the next update or two, maybe sometime by mid next year, we might see Submarines. It's getting about that close. But that being said, you have the Type 7 U-boat, which is pretty cool. And it's armed with 10 torpedoes. You have 11 mines. I got a kill personally with the mine. And you also have, of course, cannons that you can use to either attack ships, which I would not recommend, or to go after aircraft, which, of course, there are aircraft. The Germans get the HE-111, whereas the Americans get the PB-5 Catalina, PBY-5 Catalina. Both those can use torpedoes, but it is what it is. Anyways, with the Germans, you have to basically go after a convoy, and you are trying to stay out of range or out of sight of the Fletcher-class destroyers and also the Tacoma-class frigates. So basically you're trying to stay underwater and out of sight from them. Whereas with the Americans, you're trying to spot the Germans, and again, the destroyers and frigates, or the PBY-5 Catalinas, and you're trying to destroy them before they can get close to the convoy. In my experience thus far, the Americans have completely dominated the Germans. Again, it might just be that we've had things like depth charges in War Thunder for quite a while thus far. They're easier to control. There's a lot more nuance when it comes to playing a U-boat. You know, you have to, rather than just floating on top of the water, you can control your depth with the U-boats. The Americans with, you know, destroyers and frigates and all that, there is none of that, right? Like, it's just kind of almost like 2D warfare. Whereas the Germans, you have to take into account how high and whatever you are, and your weapons can only activate at this or that depth. It's pretty substantial. But that being said, thanks so much for watching. I mean, let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. I think it's actually a really fun game mode. You know, again, we are kind of getting to the point where this might not be all too uncommon in the near future. We might start getting U-boats and other types of submarines in the near future. But either way, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the other side. See you in the waters. Take care, everyone.